Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Hong Kong Gag, aka HKGAG podcast. Today, I have with me Adrian and Megan, and we're going to be talking about student experiences in Australia. So, do you guys want to introduce yourself just to start the conversation?
I'll start, I guess. Hi, my name is Adrian. I'm a first year student at the University of Sydney studying pharmacy. I did high school in Hong Kong, at South Island School, and I moved here in August 2021. So, yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Is there anything else I need to say?
Um,
I think that's it.
I'm Megan. I'm a law student at Flinders University in Adelaide, South Australia. Yay! Um, like Adrian, I went to South Island School, but I left in like halfway through year 12 to come to Adelaide to do foundation year. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's it.
So I think from that you guys are very kind of new to Australia. I'm not sure about you, Megan, but I know Adrian
Oh
is.
no, I came in like beginning when COVID started, so like February 2020.
Uh, so, what would you say is the biggest difference between Australia and Hong Kong?
Racist.
What about
Very
you?
racist.
All right.
Mm.
I feel like the biggest difference is I feel like something that's definitely taking time to get used to. On a little bit lighter note, is definitely transport. Transport is
What?
like it's not inaccessible. Transport is so bad in Sydney compared to Hong Kong.
Okay, no, but
Hong
like
Kong,
if you're like thinking about Sydney and then you're comparing Adelaide with it, because like Sydney's like big city. Sydney's transport within the city is a lot better than Adelaide's, but in general, Adelaide's got pretty shit transport too. And I swear.
yeah. The problem is in Sydney, there's like a bunch of strikes every single. There's like strikes, so that means that the
Oh
train system
yeah.
shuts down for like I don't know a day, a week,
No, and then you
or
know what I see? Like on the news, I always see like Sydney always has like weird people on transport. Weird people.
yeah, that's one part of it. And not only that, like you also have a lot of issues on like public transport itself. Like I don't know when there's rain, like it's a very uncommon issue in Hong Kong. Like there's like rain or like the floods, and it just stops the whole train system. Like
Oh
it's
yeah, like the
I guess
floods recently.
it's yeah, it's very weather dependent, which is yeah pretty annoying, but it's fine. There's like new metros and stuff like that, but I mean it's an inconvenience. That's just the biggest thing I've noticed. But not only that, I don't know I feel that like as a whole, like the biggest difference between Hong Kong and Australia is definitely the culture.
Mm.
The what? The culture?
Sorry. So one thing like I feel like it's a little bit different is a little bit about the culture. So yeah, that was all I was saying. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Um, like I don't know, whenever I talk to like a stranger, it's not really fine with other people. But I don't know, in Hong Kong it feels a little bit different. Like everyone's themselves, which is a little bit annoying, which is good in itself. But I don't know if you're like an extrovert like me, you want to talk to a bunch of people. So that's the biggest difference for me.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, like your point about like public transport, like definitely coming from Hong Kong is quite a shock. Pretty much anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
like
Hong Kong is
I
different.
don't know, like I don't know about Sydney, but in Adelaide, if you want to go essentially anywhere that's nice, you kind of have to drive. Because if not, you could be like on the bus for like an hour, and that's just like not ideal. So like for example, like the uni I go to, Flinders, it's quite far away from the city, and like you have to take a train, and that's like an hour ride. But if you drive from the city, it's only like 35 minutes. So not only is like public transport like kind of unreliable, kind of long, and like because they have to stop at every stop that's on their little what is it? They have a set Route. They have to stop on every route, and every stop on the route. So then it takes double the time. So literally the best advice you could give anyone who comes from a city with good public transport would be to get your license as quick as possible and get a car.
Yeah. It's just,
Yeah, that you should speak first. You speak first.
yeah, I think it's just Hong Kong isn't as car centric as other places, so you can get around with public transport just fine. So, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
that surprise, kind of like culture shock. But of course,
Yeah.
culture goes beyond transport and shit. Obviously,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very funny because in Hong Kong, if I take an hour, right, I can travel from Ocean Park to Shelton probably a little bit longer in an hour. But in an hour in Sydney, that's literally me going from my home, which is northwest Sydney, to the city, where because University of Sydney. So that's an hour. Like you can see the difference.
indeed.
Yeah. Also one thing I noticed that with those that didn't go to an international school, those local Hong Kongers that go to local schools,
Oh
they
yeah,
tend to have more trouble with understanding the Australian English and the slang. And they tend to want to stick within their own groups in Hong Kong. So they only want to talk to people who are from Hong Kong or who speak Cantonese. And that's just it doesn't help them. That's what I notice a lot. So if you're in Australia and you're trying to get your degree here, whether you're planning on staying or not, I think it's best that you don't just mix with people who are from the same city or country as you are, because
yeah,
then in a way you will never improve on your English, and that's what I noticed that the local Hong Kongers have a really hard time with. It's their English, and if someone goes say an Australian waiter goes, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" They get really embarrassed and they want someone else to do it for them because they thought they said something wrong. Yeah, but honestly, just take every open opportunity to practice your English because it's not that hard.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think.
that's
Now you go first.
no. I was gonna say that's a similar issue in Sydney, but I think it's much more pronounced here. There's many more students here. There's University of Sydney. It's a big name school. Pretty much every single Hong Kong parent. If you're going to Australia, you want to bring your child to either University of Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne. You don't know, no
Yeah,
offense to
or
Adelaide, but
Brisbane.
no one really thinks of Adelaide or Brisbane first. They think of the big cities.
No one really thinks of if you think about it, no one really thinks of Tasmania, Adelaide, Perth, or
Yeah,
Brisbane, Gold Coast, But they will always think of
because there's
University of Queensland, but they're where is that?
yeah,
yeah,
there's this I feel like it's just a problem with Hong Kong. There's a perceived it's the school is worse than another just because in
No,
another
you know what
in
it
the
is?
middle of the city.
You know what it is? It's actually more Hong Kongers brand names. So they also like brand
Yeah,
name stuff. So that's
yeah,
why they think of University of Sydney, University of New South Wales, University of Melbourne. That's what they think about. And that's just
I
there's more unis which are better in certain areas in different states, different cities. And it gives your child the opportunity to explore different parts. They get to appreciate what they have in Hong Kong, or they get to have a new life that's completely different from Hong Kong.
yeah.
Yeah. So
and
it's just
or even with, or
there's
even
more
within the same
things
city.
than brand names.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the culture of face and shit in Chinese
Yeah,
culture.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the culture of face. Yeah, so
But
it's
I was
so that's an issue.
I told my
You can
mom,
go
I was
first.
it's kind of what Hong Kong is like, when Asian parents like to compare their kids, oh, my kid's a
Oh
doctor,
yeah,
my kid's a lawyer. It's my kid goes to Harvard, my kid goes to University of Sydney, my kid goes to, UCL. It's like that.
yeah. And I
It's
think
like a game to Hong Kongers, just like a game.
it really kind of is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
and then if you
but
say my kid went to University of Western Australia, they're like, what is that? is that just like because your kid's not smart enough,
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like,
Yeah, but like the culture, like just adding on to Megan's point, the culture and uni is just so different in so many different ways. Um, that like that like it's honestly like what I want to say is that the culture is so different, and you have so many things that you consider about when choosing a uni that you're that like I don't know, the name is not the first thing that should be in mind. The first thing that should be in mind is how appropriate is the course and whether you want to go to that uni or not. That should be the first consideration behind everyone.
Yeah, I think like the main issue I think is how to say this. I think like correct me if I'm wrong, but like Sydney is kind of like the main area for like Hong Kongers, I guess. And I think maybe if going to a different area, you probably want to have like I mean, of course you want to integrate, as you said before, Megan, but at the same time, when you're starting out, you probably want people that you at least share a common culture with. And I think places like the most have the biggest populations, where somewhere like Perth or Hobart in Tasmania might not have that much.
Well, like, considering that point, like when I went to Sydney in 2017 just for like a holiday for a week,
Oh,
like my whole family was like so shocked when we stepped out of the hotel room. And the first thing we heard was Mandarin and Cantonese. You would not hear a speck of English, and you were like, "Did I even leave Asia?" And you're like,
oh my God, yeah.
because you just
Um,
and the weirdest part was you wouldn't see any or like quote unquote native Australians or white Australians,
Yeah.
You would just see like Asian faces and you're like, oh, did I even leave Asia in the first place? Like what's the point of traveling elsewhere to study in a foreign city if like it feels like you never even left? Like
yeah, exactly. Honestly, I can't relate because I moved in real lockdown. I moved in August 2021, so that was when Sydney was in their huge lockdown. So it's when you could only travel with 5 km to get home. You could basically like if you step out in the 5 kms, you could be fined.
oh yeah.
Hospitals, everything.
Oh
All
my
you
god,
think
I
about
read
it.
about that in the news and I was like,
Yeah,
wow, Sydney and Melbourne are really taking it to a new level. But meanwhile, like
yeah,
Adelaide was full on like, yeah, it's fine, you can go out, you can go clubbing. It's not a big deal. I was like, we
yeah.
just don't
So
have that many people here. So it's like
is
it's
that
really refreshing.
exactly? So it was. I mean, I adapted well though. I think like the moment I got out of lockdown, I didn't try and go back to like find a Hong Kong group of people. I didn't try and
Huh.
integrate another group of people. I immediately.
Yeah.
I remember the first thing. The first thing I did was right after lockdown. I found a job. That's what I
Oh
did.
yeah,
Like
you work at
straight
JD
after.
Sports, right?
No, Under Armour. Under Armour.
Oh, well, I thought it was JD Sports. Anyway,
Okay. Another question. What do you think is like the biggest challenge that you faced when settling in Australia? Like, what's the biggest challenge you faced so far?
the whole. Oh, you're from Hong Kong? Wow, your English is really good.
Well, it's just like that. Yeah.
It's that whole thing where they have that concept, like they have that judgment that because you're from Asia, your English is not going to be good. That English is not your first language. That's like. Oh, also the fact that like quite a lot of guys here a thing for Asian, so
Oh
that
my.
makes it
Yeah.
like Asian girls are kind of a target,
Bro.
like not in a bad way where like you're target for like date rape drugs, like target for like white guys who will take advantage of you because you have money or you look like you have money, or like because you're Asian. I guess that's what like that's kind of hard. So like if you're naive, it's
Yeah, I
gonna
think.
be a
Yeah.
struggle for you. Because I had like two classmates who were from Hong Kong, and they were really really naive to the point where
Oh,
one got scammed out of 30,000 Australian dollars, and um another one and both of them didn't know that Hong Kong had free healthcare. That we had to pay taxes for stuff like free healthcare, and they were like, "Wow, Australia is so expensive." Like, why is nothing free? Like, and I was like, nothing's free in Hong Kong too. Like, besides healthcare, but you're still technically paying for it.
Yeah.
For
I think
conversion's sake,
I noticed like Hong
$30,000.
Hong Kong girls from local schools usually are really nice.
yeah.
And that's like what they struggle with most here because they don't have the parents, they don't have anyone they can rely on. So like them like navigating their way through the world, it's kind of interesting. Yeah. Anyway,
So for
Adrian.
conversion's sake, $30,000 is a lot of money. You're talking about
Yeah.
like 160, 70,000, 160, 70,000 dollars.
180,
Hong Kong.
180,000. Yeah. If you times
Yeah,
6, that's
around
conversion.
180,000. So that's a lot of money just for consideration's sake.
Yeah.
But relating back to the question about the most difficult thing about adapting to here, just adding on to Megan's point, definitely it's definitely weird adapting to be a minority in a country. It's definitely weird. Like I'm privileged enough. I'll admit I'm privileged enough in Hong Kong, where we're the majority. I've never had to face like certain cases of being looked down on. Like I've never had to face that. But I remember when I was working on Black Friday, so I work in retail. So it's not a good place to work in anyways. I remember one of my worst experiences was because obviously this is when they have huge sales and stuff like that, right? One of my worst experiences was getting racial abuse immediately, like because it was like my first month on the job. I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Like, I'm gonna be honest. As much as I can learn fast, retail's just a different thing. Like, it's hard, and you have to learn to meet KPIs and stuff like that. I remember one of the first things because we said the whole store was 40% off, but then there was like these tights that wasn't 40% off, right? So I'm at the front checking vaccines and stuff like that. Like, so you needed to get double jab to go into a store and stuff like that. I remember one of the worst cases was there's this time a woman threw a fit at me because one thing was not 40% off. She called me an effing useless kid. Imagine that in your first day, like in your first month. That was by far one of the worst experiences I've ever experienced. It was like I'm a human at the end of the day. I'm not some robot who's programmed to sell stuff. And you dehumanizing me, that just isn't it. Yeah, that's far the worst experience. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I had an experience like that. So I don't work. I'm a full-time student.
Yeah.
But like I remember like the first week I arrived in Adelaide, I was I was walking with my friends through the CBD, and like these people who were dressed in how should I say this? They were kind of like furries, okay? They had the
Furries?
tail. Yeah, they had
Oh,
the tail, they had the ears. Like
okay.
there were those kind of people.
Yeah.
They're also the same people who advocated for equal rights amongst humans, for anti-discrimination, or pro-LGBT. They were those people who were in the CBD giving out pamphlets, those people who would argue with those who were reciting the Bible, but they were the same people who barked at us and said,
Wait, what?
Why,
What
why
the?
don't you go back to your country and take your virus with you? And that was like the shocking part to me because I was like, what happened to all this? Like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, you shouldn't hate on LGBT. But suddenly, when I'm an Asian, you're like, go back, take your virus back with you. I hate you. And I was just like, what is happening? Why is the world so backwards to where people put on a front and they're like, yeah, I care about this, I care about that. But then when no one's looking, they're just like, fuck you, I hate you, go back to your country, you're the reason COVID started. When I didn't do anything to you and I'm just walking with my friends down the road.
I think one of the biggest issues, like for this isn't just Australia, but this is more of a this Hong Kong immigration thing. Like a lot of people in Hong Kong, I feel like are not prepared for the racism they're gonna face in overseas, especially with COVID and the
Yeah.
Asian hate with that. And I feel like a lot of Hong Kongers just don't really focus on that issue. They say, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna escape right now," and then it's like, sure, that's cool, but also you got to be really aware of this because it is something to be aware of. So yeah,
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
anywhere like Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, you just want to be careful. Like
yeah,
it's gonna happen one day, but it just depends. Like if you're lucky, if you're not, and like you shouldn't let that affect you because like you didn't do anything, so
exactly.
why should it affect you?
Yeah, just I think it's just yeah. All right. So let's talk about Australian politics. I guess with the election is tomorrow, right?
I'm so
Yeah.
this is like my job. I take politics. Wow, please don't do it. Don't take
Uh,
politics. Whatever you do. Word of advice, if your
I was
uni
about to I
offers
was about to study
politics, do not do it. Do not do it.
I was about to study politics, but then I realized I don't want to be looking at a screen for the rest of my life, and I don't. So this a little bit of uni politics. You see, University of Sydney is extremely left wing, so
yeah.
that's why you hear about all, right? You hear about all
Oh
the
wait, but we should give
crazy.
examples of like left wing. We should give like, like Labour, liberal, and
Oh
then
yeah.
we should give like
So
the American translation so that people understand.
Oh
Because
my.
everyone
okay,
knows American politics. So woo!
Yeah. So it's
so
like
left
there's
wing.
like two major parties, which is like Labour and Liberal, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
And so
left wing is
Labour,
more your Labour. Sorry, I feel
yeah,
like the
which
podcast to
is
talk.
and Labour is considered more conservative. So if
Yeah.
American translation, they're the Republicans
Wait, you
and the
mean
liberal
Labour or Liberal?
Labor.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like if we're doing American translation, yeah,
Ah,
Labor is more conservative, I think.
oh,
Let me check.
wait. I think
Labor
I think you might
Party.
mix up a little bit.
wait.
Is it?
I think it's the opposite. Wait,
Is
wait.
it? I don't know.
I think Liberal is the more right wing party, the more conservative, and Labour is the more left wing one. Like, also,
I
wait.
have honestly no idea because they're like so similar. It's just like the names are so
This is what happens when you have a two party system. Well, a mild two party system.
similar. Political party. Explain.
To be
Okay,
fair,
well,
it's the other way around.
you don't even know about like the whole like parliament system, but let me see. Oh, my bad. Liberals are the conservatives, and
Yep.
Labor's the Democrats.
Yeah, I think that's like a
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I was,
Yep. My
yeah,
bad. My bad.
and then I
Um,
think it's like very different to Hong Kong. Right? Hong Kong, it's not really left and
you
right.
don't
It's
get
more
to
like,
vote. Yeah, we're like
are
here.
you pro Beijing or are you pro democracy? And then there's like pro independence shit. But
Mhm.
it's not really left and right. Still,
It's
one
not. Yeah.
like, obviously the pro Beijing skews more to the right and the pro Dem still more to the left. But even then, even the pro Dem there's some more right, kind of like more conservative ideals.
Hmm.
But yeah, it doesn't directly translate. But yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah. So
yep,
yeah, that's pretty much Aussie politics in a nutshell, if you can say that.
yep. Um, yeah, because before we started this podcast, I remember you guys were talking about like politics. Do you just want to talk about that, or do you move on?
Okay, so we had our well, South Australia had their, I think it was their, not Senate, but no, they did have, yeah, they
Yeah,
had their Senate elections like maybe like a month ago. Yeah,
Yeah, it
a
was like
month ago. No, in March. In March.
yeah.
And so now ScoMo, so known as Scott Morrison, has now set a date for PM election, right? Prime Minister, I think.
Yeah, which
Is
is
it?
tomorrow actually.
Tomorrow. Big day.
Yep.
Make sure you get your voting sausage.
Your what?
Your
It's
voting
called a
sausage.
democracy sausage.
Yeah, it's
It's
called
not
a
a voting
democracy
sausage.
sausage.
It's called democracy sausage. So what happens is sausage
Basically, you
sizzles.
vote, you get a sausage.
What? Well, that's kind of
No, you need to pay for it though. But what a sausage sizzle is. Think about this. You know what a hot dog is, right? A hot dog is a sausage and a bun. A sausage sizzle is bread and sausage
Wait.
in a
White
triangle
bread.
shape.
White bread.
White bread and sausage,
White
yes.
untoasted bread.
Yeah. And you add onions, mustard,
Your ketchup,
tomato sauce.
tomato
You
sauce. My
still call
bad, not
ketchup.
ketchup. Sorry, ketchup. It's
Ooh.
tomato sauce. I get it. You know. And like,
Yeah. But
and like you could get it at Bunnings. Okay, Bunnings is like your where. Like, no, how do you say what is Bunnings?
Bunnings is a
Warehouse?
warehouse. It's
Yeah,
a,
but warehouses
yeah, it's a
go. It's like
Hong Kong doesn't have any because Hong Kong is not into warehousing. You don't need a garden. I think five
yeah.
people have a garden in Hong Kong. Five people have a garden in Hong Kong. Five people.
no
Yeah.
in Hong
So
Kong.
you won't need it.
When it comes to barbecue, like, it's more like in like barbecue sites. It's something that you
Oh,
go
I have a
for hiking.
barbecue in my house.
No, we're talking about. I thought we were talking about like actual like warehouses. You know, like where you buy
Oh,
like
warehouse.
your machine tools and stuff like that. Hong Kong
Yeah,
doesn't really have that much of a market
Yeah, Hong
for it.
Kong
no,
doesn't have
it's,
that.
yeah.
Okay, here's a word of advice. For anyone coming over from Hong Kong, go to a Bunnings just to experience what a Bunnings is. Go to a Bunnings. Because they have
Just for the sake
everything
of it.
from like wood to paint to plants to sausages outside. Yeah,
You literally have
they have
everything.
everything.
And she isn't
Everything.
wrong.
It's basically a dad's dream, a DIY dad's dream.
Yeah. I mean, in Hong Kong, we don't really.
Politics.
Yeah, no, never mind. Politics. Yeah, politics.
Adrian, go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Politics. Right. What should I say about it? Well,
Our
all I
elections
know
tomorrow.
is elections are tomorrow. All I know is if I don't vote, I get fined $500. But
Yeah.
in all seriousness, politics is a very nuanced thing here. So it's very big in Australia compared to Hong Kong. Like like I don't know, if I'm at uni, a lot of things are politicized. So everything that you do, like even if I turn off class, that could be seen as a political move. Like what I was saying is politics is intertwined with society, and that's just the reality of it these days. But I remember it's like last week, that was so the teachers were striking against the uni because the uni wasn't paying enough money towards teachers and they were keeping them on a casual basis, which basically means so now I need to explain what casuals are. So casuals are basically part-time workers but worse. So you don't have sick leave, you don't have paid leave, you don't have any benefits whatsoever. You're an employee of a company, but you get no benefits whatsoever. Hong Kong doesn't have that. Um, but
Yeah.
at that cost, you get more money. You get 25% more of your wage, but that also means you don't have any leave or etc. So that means that your work is very variable, and your work is only based on demand and not because they have to pay you, which is kind of annoying. But it's based on whatever anyone thinks. Anyhow, back to it. So a lot of teachers were protesting against casualization of jobs, um, underpayment, overworking, and all that stuff. And even though I think that that's a very valid cause to do so, it impacted my learning too, because they aren't turning up to work, because which I kind of find annoying because I just want to pass the year. Honestly, obviously I want to do more than that, but like So what I'm saying is that everything is so intertwined that it actually impacts other people as an extent, and just yeah, it's very polarizing here.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
Onto that, like the first question was culture shock. I guess a culture shock for everyone from Hong Kong or anyone from Asia coming to Australia would be that, say your job is 9 to 5, you end at 5. You don't work overtime, you don't stay late, you don't work until midnight because your boss says you have to. When if your job ends at 5 on the contract, you end at 5. So I guess that's another thing that's really good about Australia.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought of that.
Yeah, so there's a lot more worker rights here. Yeah, as
Yeah,
Megan
so
said.
like
So yeah,
work-life balance is a lot better than Hong Kong's work-life balance. 'Cause
Indeed.
Hong Kong's work-life balance is just work, 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 money, work. But here you have time to go to the pub, you have time to go to clubs, you have time to go to car meets. Like, does Hong Kong have car meets? No. Does Hong Kong let you
there's
have
some.
time to hang with your friends? No. And you still see people here who are like in their 80s with a life. What are people in their 80s in Hong Kong doing? Sitting on a park bench wondering when their child is going to come home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I just want to add a little bit. So the maximum amount of hours you can work in a week, according to Australian law, is 30 hours over 5 days. So that averages out to around
And if
approximately
you're
8 hours
an
a day.
international student, if you're an international student like I am, you're only allowed to work a maximum of 20 hours a week.
Damn. So that's 4
Because
hours.
they want
So
to make sure
anything,
you have
Oh yeah.
time for your schoolwork.
Oh yeah. That's fair.
so anything over that means that they have to pay you extra. They have to pay you double your wage, which is what overtime is. If you work anything
Hmm.
above 30 hours, they can allow you to do that, but they have to pay you even more. And you can work 5 days a week. That's the maximum amount of days you can work. So yeah, I guess that's a good thing about it. Um, like I remember um, when I used to work on the armor, I used to be so raring to take so many shifts. My boss was like, "Why are you taking so many shifts? You know you'll pass." I didn't even know I was past like 5 days, but like I can only take so many. It was actually pretty funny, but yeah, it is what it is.
Mhm. So what was I talking about? Yeah, I just think I feel like Australia is a lot more like compared to Hong Kong, it's a much more open place. Like not just in population density, but also partially culture. I guess. Like
Hmm.
I know Adrian, you were talking to me about one time how I don't remember what the exact context was, but it was you trying to get home or something, and you're in trouble.
Oh yeah, all
Like
right. Oh, that was about transport. I think that was about transport. Like me getting stuck in
oh
Central Station for an hour. Um, yeah. So what happened was it was raining and all trains are stopped. So and my train was delayed by like 50 minutes. So I'm like, how the heck do I get? I just want to get back home like with decent time. So what the heck do I do? So I just had to find like the craziest ways you can get back home without paying like $100 for an Uber. That
Oh
was
yeah, that's the
crazy.
thing. Like like my dad's colleague has a son in Sydney, and he told me that his son spent 150 Australian dollars on an Uber to go to his friend's house that is an hour away from the CBD. And I
bruh.
was, that's insane. $150? That's like what? Like 1,000 Hong Kong? And I was like, that's crazy.
That's
Because
eight
like
hundred.
Adelaide, yeah, I don't know.
900.
And like, yeah, around 1,000, okay, like just shy of 1,000. And like the crazy thing is like from my house to say Port Noarlunga, which is like roughly an hour away, maybe an hour and 15, that would be like a $50 like Uber. And just like the whole $100 difference just shows like what you're getting from like big city and small city. It's kind of like
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
really want
it's
to spend your student life in an expensive city where you're going to be spending a lot more on stupid things like an Uber, or like food, just like your groceries, like living situation? Okay, let's be honest. Student accommodations are not cheap. And being in a bigger city means it's going to be more expensive. And it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's not worth it.
yeah, I guess I'm privileged enough that I still live in my parents' because yeah, I guess I'm
Yeah, me
privileged
too.
enough that I don't have to live in student accommodation. But yeah, just adding
Hmm.
on to that, Ubers are insane here. Um, I was because I had an assessment this morning, so I kind of had to rush into uni, and I missed the train. So there's the train that gets me to uni at like 10:30. My class starts at 11, but then if I miss that 10 o'clock train, then it takes at 10:20, which gets me to uni 20 minutes late. So I was like, what the heck can I do now? So I literally had to cop the bullet and I took a $50 Uber from my house to the city.
No.
It was insane. But
Oh
I mean,
my goodness.
I'm not using. The only way I'm looking at this is I'm using my own money because I earn a somewhat okay wage, so I'm using my money instead of my parents'
Hmm.
money, so I don't make them feel as bad, and I don't. And I'm only copying
And
the
it
city.
hurts you and
So
not them.
yeah, if it's me copying it, I'd rather be fine with it. So yeah,
I think one of anyways, another topic. Like I've noticed throughout
yeah,
this podcast, I talked to Adrian before this, but um, you've on your accents have been changed to become more Australian. So yeah,
Okay.
the elephant in
Well,
the room.
okay. Well, so I don't know if anyone knows, but my accent used to sound like this. It used to sound like this, and I can still switch it on and off depending on who I'm talking to. But the thing is, like, I'll speak like this for a while, but like, the thing is, when I first moved here, everyone went, "Oh my God, your English is amazing. Your accent sounds so nice. Are you American?" And when I go, like, "No, I'm not," they're like, "Are you Canadian?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually, like, I moved from Hong Kong." That's when the whole, "Wow, your accent is so American. I never thought Asians could have an accent like that." I
Like
was like, "Uh-huh, okay." And so, like, over time, I just started absorbing the Australian accent. And I'm like, they say things like water instead of water. Like, so I started absorbing it and I started adapting to their accent solely because so that I won't get the "Are you American?" Because Australians don't love Americans. So it's just that's why now my accent sounds like this, and my friends are all like, "I hate
yeah,
you. Switch your accent back. I hate it." And they're like, "I'll chop your head off if you come back with an Australian accent." But you gotta do what it takes to survive. Sometimes
yeah.
people are
What?
really aggressive.
No, every like I say this to like so many people, and I said this to Adrian as well. But I said, if you come back to Hong Kong with an Australian accent, I'm gonna tell you for your harbor. It's like
Literally. Everyone says that. I
when
don't
I-
understand what's so bad about the accent. It's nice.
there's nothing bad. I just wanted to dump someone into
it's
Victoria
just a
Harbor
joke.
for
Like the accent is nice if the right person is speaking, they have the right tone, they have like the right voice for it. It's relaxing. Like
yeah,
obviously if you're a yobbo or if you're like a bogan, that's not great. Or if like you're an Eshe, which for everyone who studies in the UK, roadman or roadman, whatever, is like, yeah,
Good man.
they're always like, "What you looking at? You fat? Do you want to start
oh
something, you dog?" And that's when it's like, that is not a nice Australian.
Um, yeah. So I'll talk with my normal accent for like 2 seconds. So this is my accent that I had before moving over to Hong Kong.
yeah, your accent
Before moving over,
isn't that bad, but it's getting there. It's getting to become
yeah,
Australian.
yeah, yeah. So this is my accent before moving over. So I'm like every international school kid. I've
We
always
have
had
the
this accent.
international accent.
international accent. It's throughout the world. Everyone has the same accent. But I guess what I'm saying is that I guess you change the people you put yourself around. Like I don't know, when I first came here, I immediately threw myself into the deep end, and I feel like that just aided me so much that I'm so grateful for the fact that I've been able. I actually did that because it's always scary moving to a new country. Like I
Yeah.
moved here. I moved here by myself. Well, my parents were here for 2 weeks, but that's it. I moved here by myself, settled down by myself. You learn a lot in that time. You learn a lot how
Mm-hmm.
to you learn a lot how to deal with stuff. You learn how to make new friends. Because
Mm.
the thing is, I feel like at the stages where I am, if I'm an 18-year-old who's just started life, who's still exploring the world around here, I'm still so young, and I've got the world my oyster essentially. And I feel like if you move away from your comfort zone, that's when you start changing as a person. Those are the ways in which you become who you actually are. Like I'll admit,
Yeah.
in Hong Kong, I was not an extroverted person at all. I kept to
No,
myself.
you were really introverted. I remember I would come over to your classroom and you'd be like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm here to see
Yeah,
Jenny." And then
Um,
Adrian would be
yeah,
there in the corner, quietly judging me. And then sometimes he'd sneak in our conversation. He's like, "What is going on with you two?" And then I'm like, "Mind your own business, Adrian." And he's just like, he was quiet. He was that quiet kid in class. And here he is working at Under Armour and like having to do retail service, which, let's be honest, is quite daunting for people who are introverted.
Indeed.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, and like,
so
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not introverted. I'm like outgoing. And so like, but
exactly.
the idea of like retail scares me.
Indeed.
It just
Yeah.
scares me.
So I don't know. So moving over to a new country, it changed me honestly. And obviously, if
Mm.
you have the means to, I'd recommend you to do it definitely. If you have somehow have the means to. Obviously, I'm not advocating for everyone moving out of Hong Kong. But what I'm saying is, if you can, then please do so. But yeah, I feel like that definitely
Experience
changed
life
me.
outside of what you're used to.
Exactly. Like I don't like obviously I don't know if Carter doesn't know me, but like you can see the interactions I have with other people. I'm going out a lot more. I mean, I'm going out a lot more. I'm going out to have fun. I'm running my own running group. You know, I've had so much fun over here, and that's just because I
Mhm.
stepped out of my comfort zone. It's it definitely changed me, and I could never be so much thankful for that because
Mm.
yeah, it means a lot to move out of a new country and just settle down and everything. So, and Megan, if you ever see me in Sydney, you'll notice I'm a different person. I'm a much different person.
Okay. Okay. Gonna
Yeah,
fly down to
yeah,
Sydney. You know, a flight to Sydney is like 2 hours. I'm just saying, it's quite far away.
yeah. But yeah.
They're
So
not
I don't
that
know.
worth it.
So anyhow, so what I was back to my point about surrounding myself with Aussie people. So I remember first thing I did when I got to university was I made a bunch of friends at orientation week. So that's the first time
Mm.
you meet people from different walks
Yes.
of different faculties, different everything. I remember one of my funniest moments was I got interviewed by Benefit Australia for this. I forgot what it was. I still have the video on my phone, but they were asking me and my mates, which I made like 2 minutes ago, like to review this thing, and like they were doing this really stupid quiz. I still have the video to this day. It's if you told me to do that 8 months ago, I would have ran away and I would have never ever seen you again. But I put myself out there, and yeah, I can never be more thankful for that. Honestly, yeah,
Basically, like, it's just scary, you know, having no one here, no support. Like, your parents are like halfway across the earth. And, like, you have to start fresh. Everything you know out the window. That's the scary part about moving away. But once you like get accustomed to how things are, you become more like a local, that's when everything starts being like, yeah, I could get behind this. Like, I see myself staying here. No, I don't see myself being miserable. So, Australia is nice. No doubt in that. It is nice.
Exactly. And yeah, it's the same thing here. I've built my own social group. Like, I mean, I'll admit it, I do love a drink every now and then. I still have my drinking friends. I still have my friends who I have regular clothing with. I still have that group of friends. But outside
Mhm.
of that, I'm training for a marathon right now. I'm running the Sydney Marathon in September. Probably running the Sydney Marathon.
Wow.
I got into pre-qualification for a 14K race. So that means they put me in one of the faster brackets. So, because they saw one of my stats and they were like, this man can run even faster than what we think he's the normal person. So we're going to put him in one of the faster groups for 14Ks. Yeah, so I have my own group of friends here, and that's so good because cause like you need that social support system. You need that group of people to push you, to make you become a better person, and I can be more fair. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
I know.
Yeah. What was saying again? Yeah. I think this is. Yeah. You mentioned this to me a lot of the time. Like you said, how moving to Sydney, you really changed a lot, and you became more extroverted. And
I mean, like, I think anyone who moves away, they change.
yeah.
Everything about them changes.
I mean, if you told me last year to do this podcast, I would tell you to run away and never talk to me ever again. Let's just be honest here. I would never do this ever. I probably put
Honestly,
myself under some.
I would
Yeah.
have been like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
Because
that's the
it's
exact same
just
thing as
like,
me.
Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. It's just. I don't think with addition, the pandemic and shit that might have changed like our perspective on life. I guess.
literally, yeah. Honestly, well, it didn't really change mine because pandemic didn't really affect me. We
Oh.
were
Good.
like, our longest lockdown was a week.
Oh. Nice.
And like, the way Australia handled everything made it seem like Hong Kong was just too uptight. Like, I remember
It's way too up.
watching yeah, I was watching TVB, like the 6 o'clock news, and then I was like, why do they keep telling you about the COVID numbers? Like, what's the big deal? People are dying, okay. So what are you gonna do about it? But Hong Kong wouldn't say what they were doing about it. They were just like, these people are dying. And I'm like, okay, so what are you gonna do? But
Yeah. I
no
think
mention about that. But
biggest.
Australia was like, these people are dying. We are putting more money into hospitals. We're gonna have more nurses. Any nurses, even your child ones, please come back. We need your help. Like, stuff like that. They actively were doing something about the situation. So there's that difference where if you're reactive or like not, you're just sitting there. And Hong Kong's lockdown, Jesus Christ. Let's be honest, they will not work. They will work for a small amount of time, but as soon as you open everything up again, because of just how small Hong Kong is and how many people there are, it's just not ideal.
Yeah.
So move on, live with it. Because
I think
if
that
you don't
made
live with it, it's
that.
just gonna keep coming back worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. I think I just they will have to open up like Hong Kong, China.
Eventually.
Eventually, yes. It doesn't matter of when. That is the
Yeah.
most of the world. Like I think
Yeah.
most of the Western world has pretty much begun opening up.
Opened up. Yeah.
Up. Like I mean, sure, you have like outbreaks here and there, but it's nothing compared to like Delta or Delta Cron.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think another culture shock could be like and it just doesn't go for Australia only, but like I guess other
Everywhere.
Western countries. No, it's just the acceptance of the LGBT community like, compared to Hong Kong and really most of
Yeah.
Asia. It is a big shock. Like even in Taiwan, where it's the only country in Asia that has legal gay marriage, like it's still more conservative compared to other Western countries.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like that sudden openness. Yeah,
Yeah, it's something definitely I mean, obviously, I have no problem with the community whatsoever, and it's definitely something that's great. Honestly, I think it's something that's great. Honestly, because
We-
you know, you aren't like people are like looking down on people who are members of the LGBT community. I have many friends who are part of the LGBT community and treat them as every other person. Like they're no different. Just because of who you like or who you are doesn't change who you are inside as a person. It doesn't change your personality. It doesn't change whatever you are inside, and that's what's so great about it. And um, I guess University of Sydney is very accepting about it because they're more left wing. They're more left wing, so like much more accepting. But even as a whole, Australia is very accepting towards
Australia
those
is
groups of
very
people.
accepting. But
Yeah,
I can
which
think
I
of
find
one university. I can think of one university where it wouldn't be so accepted,
Hmm?
and that would be
you in a subby.
Murdoch.
Why? What happened?
So if for people who don't know, Murdoch is in Perth. Well, not in Perth. It's in Western Australia, and Murdoch is run by a guy. Last name is Murdoch. He's more on that conservative side, and he runs a newspaper. And if you look at their newspaper, you look at their stance and everything, you can
Oh,
tell they're very
the place of
anti-LGBT,
okay.
anti-abortion, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So someone who would be LGBT and going to that university may have a hard time if they're open about it. So
Yeah.
it really just depends where you go.
I'm just looking at like the Wikipedia page. Yeah. What does it say?
Yeah,
Hey,
it's like
we
I
are
think the funniest thing here, but not funny, actually pretty good, is that there is something called an all gender toilet.
a what?
Obviously, we
What?
know what that is. All gender toilets.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so like literally, so
Men and
they
women
aren't
can
like
use it, no
binary in
biggie.
terms of like men and women. They have like a toilet that's like open to everyone. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You never see that in Hong Kong. Yeah,
There are some, but like very few.
there are.
Hong Kong,
Yeah,
no, I
that's
wouldn't
pretty.
say there are all gendered.
I
It
know.
like people who think of all gendered usually think of like disabled, but these are like in restaurants where like it's just one toilet, men and women can use it, and like if there's more than one girl inside, like and a man walks in, they're gonna be like, "Am I in the right toilet?" And I mean, no biggie, that's happened to me. And I'm like, "Am I in the right toilet?" But yeah, you are. You go back out, you see it, and there's just toilet.
Yeah.
And they don't put like the man little stick guy, the little stick woman. It's just toilet. It's like your toilet at home, all genders.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
just
I don't know why it's such a big thing. Like a toilet's a toilet.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a big thing. So yeah, I
Mhm.
guess that's what makes I guess Australia great in its own sense. It's much more accepting. People are just different, and even though you always have that certain bad apple every now and then, like you do in everything, most of the people here are pretty accepting of you. Like, and it's very easy to become friends with anyone. Like just going back to earlier, like I made so many friends here. It's kind of crazy. I remember I get joked on by my friends, egged on by my friends every day, but they say, "Why do you know like at least 10 people every single time you come into campus? Why do you say hi to like 10 people?" And there's some people I try to find. They're like, "The campus is so big. How are you able to crash into someone you know every single day in like different places?" I'm like, "What? That's just how I am." So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny. And I guess you never ever do that. You do that in Hong Kong. I remember whenever in Hong Kong I ever saw a classmate, I literally run away. Well, not run away, preferably run. But
You,
I
you you
try
keep your
to
head
avoid them
down,
as
try
much
not
as
to.
possible. That's it. That's it. Yeah, try not to you know annoy people, but it's different here. So yeah,
Mm, yeah.
Uh,
And like
yeah.
let's like remind everyone that this is like majority of this is like within CBD,
wait, what?
like within like CBD area.
Within metropolitan areas of Australia, so it might be different
Oh,
outside of metropolitan areas, but
yeah.
that's just my experience within a metropolitan area. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
And
when
like let's like just remember that like the state is more than just the cities you know. Like New South Wales isn't just Sydney, like Victoria isn't just Melbourne, stuff like that. There's more outside of those cities. So like
Yeah, but
anyone shouldn't like people shouldn't be afraid to go to other universities within that state. Like who cares if like someone goes, "Oh, you didn't study at University of Melbourne? Why not?" Like, so I found this uni better for me, better for my needs, better for like how I feel. I feel comfortable in this uni. Like, it's no big deal. A university is a university. You still get the same paper afterwards.
yeah, I
Exactly.
think
It's the exact same for Sydney. Like Sydney has like 5, 6 unis. I remember one of the funniest things I did before O week, and this was a huge thing. This wasn't a huge thing. It was a funny thing. I was betting with someone I used to go. Just
anyways,
travel across every single uni in the city to go to each O week and get a bunch of goodies. We'll each pay $20. It was the funniest thing
yeah,
possible. I was like,
yeah,
I
like
got G.
yeah,
Yeah, I've got University of Technology Sydney, and Notre Dame too. I traveled to all these different universities, and what I was trying to say is that, and then I went back to USyd. But what I'm trying to say is, you don't have to go for that name school because every school has a different course. Maybe University of Sydney, like I study pharmacy because University of Sydney has it. But I mean, if I don't know, if I felt that the course in Wollongong or something like that was better, I'd go to Wollongong. But obviously that isn't the case because University of Sydney is the best one. But I'm just saying is that like it's so open. There's so many choices here. Is that parents and people like can just be thinking of, hey, I want to go to that big name school. I want to look good and
Yeah.
I want to look good in that resume because as Megan said earlier, you're getting the same piece of paper. No one cares. Like at the end of the day, no employee will care where you graduated from. Everyone will care how you work with the company, how you work with the colleagues there, and everything else. That's just how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I was gonna say, like even in Adelaide, like it's a small city compared to Sydney. We have three universities here. We have University of South Australia, University of Adelaide, and Flinders University. And like things like they give you the chance to like bond with other people in like the same degree as you from the different unis by doing pub crawls. So like a pub crawl is basically when you pay like $20 to get a t-shirt that says like this degree pub crawl, like 2020 or like 2022, whatever. And like you with that t-shirt, you are allowed to go to like 6, 7 bars along like Hindley Street, which is the party area,
oh sorry, not
and
my
you get
fault.
like free drinks. You get free drinks, and you're just like drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking with a bunch of people, same degree, and you're bonding in a way,
Yeah,
like
that's
you meet new people, you get drunk together, you form memories. And like obviously with phones nowadays, you're gonna be filming it, so you're gonna like the next day you're like, who is that? But I don't care. I had a good time.
oh, yeah. I know Hong Kong has something similar, like across universities, but it's I don't know. It's just not probably not as far out as Australia, from what I'm
It's not
hearing.
as robust.
It's
It's
definitely
not as
there.
robust.
Pardon?
It's not as robust. Like it's not as robust. Like even in my pharmacy, like you wouldn't expect pharmacy to have like these gadgets to like have these connected events and stuff like that. But they literally have events where you can connect with people within not only your faculty but within the scope of pharmacy. So like I remember there's like these
Mm-hmm.
fairs where they bring in people from like Pfizer, Bayer, so all these big pharma companies. They bring them in to tell you more about their company and any job opportunities, allowing to build those connections like right now, so that
Nice.
when you go into the future, say 2, 3 years later on, you can be like, hey, is there a job at Pfizer? I can just jump to Pfizer straight after uni. Like you wouldn't have that opportunity in Hong Kong because they don't really do a lot of those fairs. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
do some of those, yeah,
yeah,
but
but it's
in Australia it's much larger and
yeah,
it's much more planned out, and they actually have thought put into this. So that's what I find so great about it. And like not only that, within my own pharmacy faculty, there's cruises and stuff like that. So the cruise is literally like a Hong Kong cruise. You jump onto a cruise, you go into the sea or wherever for like 4 hours, and then
Mm.
you go back, and then there's after drinks and stuff like that. Like you have all these different events, and it's so good because you can connect with new people, you can make new connections, and it's just really cool. Like even the pod, like okay, I'll admit the party scene in Sydney is not really that good at all. It's decent,
Mhm.
but it's very expensive.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't like going out because it's so
It's okay,
expensive.
let's be honest. Nothing in Australia will compare to Bangkok. Okay, nothing will compare.
Nothing will
Nothing
compare to
with
what?
LKF.
Well,
LKF,
Bangkok,
Oh, not quite phone.
Langkawi Fong,
nothing will
so
ever
and nothing will
compare.
compare to that. Yeah. So every sort of clubbing is a little bit more expensive. I mean, to be honest, I was that
And
introvert
like,
who never actually clubbed.
let's be honest. Let's be honest. Australia
Yeah.
cares a lot more about your ID than Hong Kong does.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Until like
So
recently, you didn't have like there's like a law in Hong Kong that now you have to present your ID, but before I don't think that was like a proper law. Like,
Mm,
yeah,
nope.
and I say
yeah,
recent, but like, a few
exactly.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just what's different. But at the same time, that's what makes Australia great, and I don't know, every other country great because you're making uni is that one time in life where you're an adult, you're trying to find your way around the world, but at the same time you're still studying. So, you're trying to learn your way around your school, at the same time you're making new friends, and that's what's so great about it, honestly. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, I have like an experiment. So I spent 2 years in Australia because lockdown, and I recently went back in January, and I did that stupid 21-day quarantine. And like as soon as I came out, sure, I was happy that I got to see my family and my pet, but I was really uncomfortable in Hong Kong.
Mm.
I never realized how uncomfortable I was until I finally went back because people were so close to you. The way people drive is crazy. The way that the fact that you cannot just breathe fresh air was also wild to me. And the fact that like people were just so glued to their phone was crazy to me as well. Like in Australia, you could be on your phone, yes, but people will still smile at you. People will still like they will nod at you, they will smile at you, they are just decent people in Hong Kong. It's kind of like just like move out of my way. I have things to do, I have places to be. It's just
I think
the
this life is just more
the
fast paced.
whole like the whole difference is just crazy.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. I feel
Obviously
like
I wouldn't know because I have,
Australia in general is just more easy breezy, easygoing. It's just more
Yeah.
comfortable to be in Australia than it is in Hong Kong.
Mm.
obviously I wouldn't know because I haven't been in Hong Kong in like a solid year or so. But yeah, I do certainly agree with that aspect. Like, obviously, I'll admit, maybe I'm painting a very optimistic picture here. People in Hong Kong won't adapt as well as me because people don't spend as much time as me here. Like, I've had 6 months to adapt before going to uni. So I guess that prepared me for the world. And I admit that maybe I'm privileged to be able to do that, to be able to, luckily, have a home here where I can just go home and, just, like, I have a home to go to, but I understand at the same time that a lot of those people aren't privileged enough to do that, and I definitely understand that. But even as a whole, like when people can't adapt to the life in Australia, people they're still at the end of the day they're still gonna see like at the end of the day because the core of the people is that they're accepting. But in Hong Kong, it's just so different, and that's just the way that people are raised. It's not about people being inherently bad. It's about the fact that Hong Kong people have just been raised that way to, don't talk to strangers or just not be as accepting, stick to yourself. But here in Australia, like if I talk to, like I remember some of my funniest moments are literally talking to strangers about the craziest things possible. Like I remember, I remember one time, it was one time I was chasing a train, and I missed that train, and this
Oh,
other
great.
guy next to me missed that train, and then we struck up a conversation immediately because I was like, "Oh, where do you come from?" And we just like in those 15 minutes, I just built a bond with someone, and I don't think you can ever do that in Hong Kong because in Hong Kong, what that guy
People
plugged
will
in
look
their
at you
earphones.
strange.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
like
they'll
the
think
only exception would be someone like Guy Fawkes, but even that they're not really strangers, but just people living in the same area. Maybe you don't know them, but you know.
yeah. And
Yeah, but
LKF, like let's be honest, and LKF, let's be
oh yeah,
honest here, everyone
that's
goes in
definitely
groups.
that is definitely
That's everyone goes in groups.
No, you know what I hate? I hate it when like I'm with my friends, I'm having a good time, and like a few local schoolboys come up behind us and try like grinding on us. And it's not it, guys. Just don't do that. It's not
yeah.
nice. No one likes that. Just let girls have fun by themselves. If they want you, they'll approach you. Just don't cuddle us. It feels
That's
weird.
right.
Guys, seriously, fuck
Exactly,
off. I
exactly.
hate it.
And that's also what's good about Hong Kong. Sorry, not Hong Kong. Hong Kong isn't good at this at all. Australia is very good
Uh,
at consent too. Like, I
Oh
remember when I
yeah,
first got
also
into the uni,
amazing at consent.
what they have, what one of the first things to do before they actually let you study a course, you have to do a compulsory course on consent and stuff like
Yep,
that. So you actually have to, so you actually have to know, like, okay, this isn't
what
acceptable.
consent
Okay,
is.
that isn't acceptable, and what consent is as a whole, so that you won't be putting yourself in incriminating situations as a member of the uni. And obviously, that's helped. I don't know. As someone, I mean, I never had those experiences as a high school kid. Like what Megan's expulsion talked about. I
Oi,
never even touched
oi.
the club. No, no, you were talking about like how a local school guy was quote unquote grinding on you, something like that, like
Not
just now,
on
right?
me, but like on my friend, and it's not it. It's gross. It's gross. Seriously,
yeah.
it's gross.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's what I mean.
And
That's
like
what I mean.
it's like
Um, it's, and,
Yeah,
all right,
continue.
sorry
it
for
is.
cutting out again. Sorry for cutting out again. We're back again. Yes, my name is Adrian. I'm taking over the podcast now, Cardo. I'm
I'm
kidding.
here. I'm here. I'm
I'm,
still here. I'm just monitoring the project.
um,
Anyways,
but yeah, but yeah. Anyhow, they make compulsory, like consent education compulsory here, which means that when you're like no is no, yes is yes. If you ever want to get into those experiences, like whether you want to go back to someone's home or something like that, and you have to consent. You have to be consent, and that's what here because they educate you on that. They educate you on that, and obviously, what Megan's told me is something that's just disgusting because that would never happen in
never happened.
Australia. That would never happen in Australia because, or at least even if it does happen, that person will be beat up immediately. um, but yeah, like obviously as a guy, I should like I'm the guy. I'm a person who needs to know the boundaries, and I do know those boundaries, which is why I've never been
Good.
put, which is why I've never been put into those incriminating situations as a obviously my sexuality doesn't matter, but as a straight guy, um, I have to know those boundaries, and I feel like it's good that my uni teaches me about that stuff, so that like let's say I do have those experiences, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny what I've had, but um, I know
Yes.
what. Yeah,
Oh, and like let's not like okay, and it's not just guys that have to do that consent form, and it's not just University of Sydney that has to do it. I have to do it as well. Girls have to do it as well. And like the thing was, I did that, and they give you scenarios like where like
Oh,
they ask you if this is okay or if that's okay. And for like some scenarios, I put that's okay, and that would be like if a guy comes up to you and he just like he just holds your hand, stuff like that, or if he like touches you a little funny, I wrote that's okay. But it turns out it's not okay. So I may have failed that consent form once or twice, but you learn new things like stuff you think is okay. It's not actually okay.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just
Okay,
don't.
can we talk about the elephant in the room?
What
Let's
is?
talk about the elephant in the room.
Sure.
Well, it's not really an elephant in the room. It's the elephant standing outside the door that I've been waiting to let in. Anyway, driving.
Ah. Yeah.
Driving.
Yeah, let's talk
Why
about it.
is
I'm
Hong
still
Kong
on my
so
learners.
unsafe in driving?
I think it's because most people just rely a lot on public transport because
I
our
think it's
network
more
is
like,
bad.
honestly, I think it's more like instructors only teach you how to pass your driving test. They don't teach you how to drive. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's let everyone know how driving works here. Adrian, go.
Okay, so driving obviously will be different by state, but what they have to do is you obviously, like in Hong Kong, you have to pass the normal driver. You have to pass the driver theory test, which is basically like asking you, oh, how do you like what does this sign mean? What does that sign mean? Pretty pedestrian stuff if you're a normal person. So you have that, but not only that, you also have to have um off the top of my head 120 hours combined. So 100 hours of day driving and 20 hours of night driving. You have to have that amount of experience before you can even take your
And it varies
driving
by
test.
state. It varies by state. So New South Wales is 120 hours. South Australia is 75 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
So not only do you need those hours, you also and then that isn't even done yet. So after you get those 120 hours, that's when you can take the test, right?
The
And then you
driving
get
on
put
the road
into
test.
the driving on the road test. So after you pass that test, you get put into an intermediate plate, like in Hong Kong, like a red P, right? You get
Wait.
put onto red
I
P.
don't know if no. So the thing is, South Australia, you have to do a hazard perception test where they give you a few video scenarios, and like you have to press a button when you would respond, like whether you're slowing down, stopping, when you would go, just to make sure like you know what you're doing. And like
Oh yeah,
so, you said like Sydney, you guys have different colored plates, but in
yeah,
South Australia, in Adelaide, we have just the P plate. So for us, you have to hold your P plate for 1 year. Then you would go on to what we call P2, where you can take off your plate and you're essentially what is known like full license. So because there's like a few like on your P1s, you're not allowed to drive after midnight. You can't drive from midnight to 5 a.m. You cannot like you cannot
Yeah.
do a certain thing. Like there's a few
yeah,
restrictions, but like
yeah.
in Hong
So
Kong,
adding,
you see
no,
people with P
sorry.
plates driving Ferraris.
Yeah, so adding on to what you said, so yeah, after you pass that driving test, you have your red P, which is P1 as they call it. So that's 1 year, and then you have your hazard perception test. That's when they do the hazard perception test for NSW. So for my state, obviously varies by different state. So then you have that one. After that 1 year, you have that test. If you pass that test, you get put into green Ps, which means that you change your plate, but that means you also put a new one. You have to put that on for 2 years, and then after that,
Mm-hmm.
you just get moved on to full license.
Yeah.
But
Right.
there is one important thing that is in between each one, is that they only give you one chance. What I mean by one chance is you only get one time to speed. So if you go over the speed limit and they catch you, so let's say it's a 60 kilometers per hour zone and you drive 70 kilometers per hour, but the police catches you, they suspend your license for 3 months. After that suspension for 3 months, then you get to drive on the road again. Hopefully that you don't get that thing again. Hopefully you don't get the offense again. But then if you get it again, you get suspended for a year. So it definitely means that drivers are much more aware of what they're doing.
Oh, that's
And
different here.
yeah, drivers are much more aware of what they're doing. And they actually
Yeah,
they definitely know
it's a
like
lot
what's the limit.
safer.
Yeah.
Can't really. Yeah. I think this is just the culture about driving in Australia is much different from Hong Kong. Because driving
Yeah.
is more of a hobby than a necessity. Like,
Yeah. Well, like
obviously there are people who need to drive for a living, like, delivery vans and people who work as
yeah.
drivers. But the vast majority of people don't really drive that often, or even own a
I
car.
just Yeah, I just want to add to Adrian's point. It like again, it varies state by state. Like
Yeah.
for us in South Australia, you don't get one shot, you get demerit points. So if you accumulate like so say 60 km per hour, and you're speeding less than like say you're less than 70 kilometers an hour, but you're still speeding. You get 2 demerit points, and that keeps accumulating and accumulating until you reach a certain point. I think it's 6. If you reach 6 demerit points, that's when you get your license suspended for 6 months. And then
Ah,
once it gets unsuspended, you have to retake your driving test. Then they can reinstate your license, and that's when you can continue. And the demerit points will only go away on your record 3 years after you got the first, like it will go away 3 years after. So even though you have your license, you still have that demerit point thing on your, and if you get more demerit points than that, then you get your license taken away indefinitely. So you cannot drive at all. So Australia, in a way, like it is really strict with its driving, like very strict with its driving. And there are like a lot of things you cannot do compared to Hong Kong, where like no one gives a shit and they just do it anyway. So yeah.
and like you guys have like different laws depending on state. Like that's not a thing in Hong Kong given its size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. And Adrian's
Yeah.
still on his P's, but let me just tell you, Adrian's on his L's.
Oh,
Let me just tell you, I'm
I'm
getting
still
my
like that.
P's next Thursday, okay? I'm getting
all
my
right,
P's
nice,
next Thursday. I get to drive alone.
nice. Yeah,
I'm still on my L's,
I'm
but
listening to
that's
this.
because
Yeah.
Because you
I'm
guys
still on my
need so
L's.
much longer.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm on 50 hours now, and I've been here for like 9 months.
Yeah, I'm just listening to this, just nodding because I cannot like. I just,
Yeah. Oh, and like the good thing about Australia is when you turn 16, stop.
wait, what?
Yeah, you can start learning how to drive at 16.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
You have to
I didn't
start
hear
at
what you said.
18.
Like,
Yeah, that's the best thing. You can learn at 16. You can start learning at 16. Actually, you can apply before you turn 16, and then on the day you turn 16, you can
oh,
do your learner's test, and then you can start driving already.
that is, like even when I see like Americans like I know one of the admins in the Discord, he's in the US and he has a car and drive, and it's just when I first met him he was already driving. I was like, I can't relate at all. What is this sorcery?
Yeah, but like the thing is like I've been talking to my friends in like US and UK. They said that once they pass their L plate test, it doesn't matter how many hours they can do, and then they can already go for the test. Like
Oh, that
they don't have to have that certain amount of hours. So in a way, if you think about it, they may not necessarily know how to drive properly, and you're
mhm.
letting those kind of people on the road as long as they pass the test. So it's like, is it really safe that those kind of people are driving? Whereas in Australia, everyone has had like a certain amount of hours done, and they know how to do like U-turns and whatever. Because there are like a bunch of weird U-turns here. So it's just like, is it really safe? Just like Hong Kong, is it really safe? You pass a test, but is it really safe that you are driving?
Mhm.
Just saying.
So yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to say, or else I think we should end it just in case the bot goes insane again.
do I have anything else to say?
Like,
Food in
Well,
Australia is a lot better than Hong Kong.
wait, what?
yeah,
Food in Australia is a lot better
Does
than
this
Hong
include
Kong.
Hong Kong food?
No, of course not. It
Oh,
includes
thank
like
God! If that was
produce.
the case, I would just kick you out of the voice call immediately. You can't just say that. That's a
No,
war.
like I'm
Thank
talking
God.
about like produce wise. Like we're talking about like beef, lamb, chicken,
Yeah.
like
No,
produce.
it's more fresh and more direct, given how
It
much it
is,
has.
honestly, it
let's talk
is.
about.
And like
Okay,
let's talk about the fact that you can get a $7 rib-eye steak from a supermarket, whereas Hong Kong you have to pay at least what, 80 something dollars for that?
it's like 80.
Let's talk
100.
about
Yeah.
let's talk about food. Let's talk about food. I have so much stuff to talk about food. I can
Me
probably
too.
talk about it for an hour.
We're near the
You should,
end.
Carter, you should end it and then make a whole new episode on food in Australia.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should do that when.
When do you want to do it? He's
We're already
asking.
here.
I'll let you guys know.
We can, but we're already here. We can record it
Yeah.
even more.
Yeah.
You can end the episode right now, and then
All
you can
right.
just talk
And
about
then-
food.
And then continue.
Yeah, like I'm probably just gonna go to the toilet for a few minutes, but after that, I can talk until like I can talk until like 7:30 if you want me to about food.
Oh my
What's so
god.
much for you?
There's just so much food here.
Yeah,
All right.
let's end it
We're
here.
gonna
Let's
see you
take a break.
next time, when we upload this, hopefully it works. All right, see you guys.